Welcome to Sweet and Elite, which I think is one of our first Rarity-focused episodes in a while, at least since Suited for Success. Bad friend points going to Rarity, unsurprising anyone. As for the episode itself, there's already a lot to talk about in this one, so I'm just going to move on. Okay, so this is interesting. This is another 3D panning shot where we can see that the castle in the forefront here, that's generally where Celestia hosts the gala, is actually completely separate from Canterlot. I'm ever so slowly starting to put together a mental picture of how the city's supposed to look, and this might be a good fix for me for the geographical inconsistencies I was harping on. So the gala was just held here over in this one. It's kind of like a receiving area and hosting area, I guess, while the city proper is behind it, with the spire to the far left being where Luna and Celestia's chambers are. And I believe this building over here in the center is the gifted unicorn school that Twilight went to, and it goes without saying, but this outward shot doesn't actually reflect the proper size of Canterlot, as we'll see in this episode and in future ones. This shot is mostly just for the show, or just to show like the major buildings and structures and not the actual city itself, it helps the animators save on a lot of time and money. I'll check the wide panning shot in this season's finale for more details on the city, but yeah, I think I'm finally getting an understanding of it. It's only short-lived, but Celestia getting some one-on-one time with anyone other than Twilight is rare and neat to see. Celestia calls Twilight by her full name, weirdly enough, but mentions how Twilight was the one who asked to have Rarity accommodated while she's in Canterlot for business. Nice to see her being supportive and kind to Twilight's new friends. Well, they're not really new at this point, it's been months, if not like upwards of a year. Though it is a sus little situation to provide a personal tower to someone just because your student asked. Little abuse of power and favoritism going on. However, as I've been arguing so far in the series, Celestia doesn't really have any friends, so Twilight is basically her only one. At least in Celestia's eyes, that is. So doing her quote-unquote friend a solid is a good practice in friendship. Celestia doesn't even seem bothered by the favor at all, while Rarity is begging on her knees and prostrating herself before Celestia to demonstrate her extreme gratitude. A bit of Rarity's nobility bias coming through, more so than usual, as well as showing the distance most ponies keep between themselves and Celestia. Though this might be even more extreme from other ponies, given Celestia's face here. It's a funny contrast given how Luna offered her hoof for kissing to the mayor in episode 4, but here Celestia is more uncomfortable with it. Good detailing. The lack of concern from both Rarity and Celestia to this poor unicorn's plight is in and of itself concerning. My poor guy isn't an earth pony and is clearly not very good at magic, so maybe leaving him to struggle is not nice. Just stop doing it. That being said, is the fact that he's a unicorn just a Canterlot thing? Did he willingly pick this job? I want to see his cutie mark, hopefully. I will within the next few seconds to determine that. I did not get to. Anyway, first shot of Canterlot and we get 6 unicorns and 1 earth pony. I'm sensing we're going to be seeing a lot of classism in this episode, as it seems like Canterlot is definitely a nobility-centered city and the unicorns are the only nobility we have. You also note that most ponies here wear clothes, as clothes are seen as a status symbol or fancy in Equestria. Why? I couldn't tell you. Also, having watched the full episode, it's less classism-y, but there is one specific detail I'll note at the end of the episode. This pony doesn't even have a cutie mark, and I feel like that's a common trend with this one. Also, Rarity's just talking about how much she loves this Canterlot and high society, so you know, nothing new there. So Rarity reveals here her trip was to pick up fabrics, but since Twilight got her a nice room, she decides to make Twilight a nice garment as thanks. Rarity also reveals that Twilight's birthday is happening this weekend and that a nice outfit will be the perfect gift. As nice, generous, and supportive that Rarity is, it must be tiring getting clothes and nothing else as gifts from her constantly. I mean, I'd enjoy it since I hate buying clothes, but I can imagine the other side of it. Also, these random pompous ponies approach Rarity. They introduce themselves as Jet Set and Upper Crust. Likely puns I'm not rich enough to get. Jet Set Radio is the only game I know with that phrase in it, but that's about it. Anyway, they ask her where she got her hat, and right as she's about to schmooze them up and probably get new clients for her clothing, a random ponyvillian calls her out. Some pony named Hayseed Turnip Truck. What the hell? Sure, okay. Anyway, he mentions that they met at a hoedown in Ponyville. Likely she was invited by Applejack. We can see that since she's in the high class area, that she really doesn't want to associate with the regular quote-unquote riffraff that she normally does around the more rural Ponyville. The pompous ponies change their tune after hearing all that and bounce, while Hayseed seems oblivious to the damage he's done to her reputation and business. That being said, Rarity doesn't yell at him or get upset at him, but she does tear up from the humiliation, or what she perceives as humiliation. Rarity is utilizing her ego for, I guess, good, since it's to show up some rich quacks. She decides to craft something that looks less quote-unquote country and more quote-unquote something you could get in Canterlot. Rarity does a good job of controlling her emotions in stressful situations in these early seasons. I've been seeing it a lot so far, to the point that I'm actually, pointing it out. Pretty sure she loses this more as the series goes on. She also demonstrates an attitude of wanting to prove herself, refusing to accept any naysaying, and create something worthy of compliments even when a pony is obviously just rude. Admirable trait, I suppose. Here we get introduced to a somewhat recurring noble pony, who's unexpectedly kinda based. He's known as Lord Fancy Pants. I don't think we ever get a name directly stated for the lady companion, but a quick Google search will tell me her name. Shame, I don't really care. She also doesn't show up outside of this scene, I'm pretty sure. And I mean that for just this episode. I'm pretty sure she comes back in other episodes. Rarity apologizes profusely and catches Fancy Pants off guard when she mentions she was rushing back to the castle when she bumped into him. While a little shallow that he grows interest in her from this, he did play off her bumping into him really well and was very kind and polite about the whole situation. So he might have already been interested in her and just decided to pursue a greater understanding of each other from that extra fact. Rarity's casual attitude towards staying at the castle and knowing Celestio further grabs the pair's attention and causes Fancy Pants to see this as a fortuitous occasion and proceeds to invite her to a gathering of his. Also, this lady pony just poses constantly throughout this entire scene, making me think she's probably a model. Again, don't care, I'm not gonna Google it. The gathering itself is at a VIP box at the Wonderbolts Derby. Also, the lady's awkward expression when Fancy Pants walks off without her noticing is hilarious. Rarity goes over the pros and cons of deciding what to do, either make Twilight's dress or go to the Derby with Fancy Pants. She lists seeing a Wonderbolts Derby from a VIP box as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, which is a pro, also fair. Her first con is that it will cut into her time to work on Twilight's dress. Another pro is that Fancy Pants is the most important pony in Canterlot, aside from the princess. Given how she hates the prince now, that kind of tracks. Also, side note, this pony looks dope. I love this design. The next con is that even though Twilight's birthday isn't as sophisticated as the Derby, that doesn't mean she shouldn't give her 100% to her friend, stating that the main six would appreciate her efforts more than any other pony. A wonderful thing for her to say with no other pony around, demonstrating her inner thoughts on the others. Love it when they do that. If only it was more frequent. She vows not to let them down, then immediately goes to the Derby with Fancy Pants and fangirls about it. To be fair, we've seen Rarity make dresses fast and efficiently, so this one outing is fine, and her friends would probably even support this opportunity for her. Unfortunately, this won't be the only outing. Lyra 50. There's no less than 3 of her in this shot, by the way. She casually trots past the pair of pompous ponies. She didn't even notice or acknowledge them, so she isn't being rude like Apple Bloom to her bullies. Rarity tends to be the most mature of the main 6, save what I'm going to call some outlier episodes and moments. She also loves drama, so anytime she drama queens, I take that as her having a laugh. She does end up winking at them at the end of the Derby section, which is, not great, but it's not the worst. The other rich pompous ponies all crowd Fancy Pants and ignore Rarity even after most of her introduction. But as soon as Fancy Pants lets it slip that she's staying at the castle, they immediately change their tune, which, well, they mostly grow confused at how some pony like her managed that. Why Generosity Incarnate wants to befriend the most shallow clique in Equestria, I'll never know. But we will see Fancy Pants at the very least prove himself later on in the episode. We also don't see the supermodel, so, like I said. Fancy Pants never looks down on Rarity though, always looking composed and even interested, which is a good juxtaposition to the rest of the Fancy Pants ponies, other than Fancy Pants. For some reason, they use Luna's voice actor for the announcer at this game, and unless we see the announcer pony, I'm just gonna headcanon that this is actually Luna, and she just likes the Wonderbolts because it makes me chuckle. And I will tell you now that I've watched the episode that we never do see the announcer, so yeah, I'm headcanoning it. This is just Luna having a fun time. Fancy Pants mentions how he's rooting for Rapid Fire, after which Rarity impulsively mentions that he doesn't stand a chance against Fleetfoot. I wonder why she would know so much about the Wonderbolts. Either way, the nobles other than Fancy Pants take exception to her disagreement, because Echo Chamber. But Fancy Pants actually looks impressed at her gumption. Fancy Pants also smiles as he watches Rarity enjoy the Derby while the other nobles focus on the race, showing he actually does see something in her and isn't just kissing up to some pony he thinks is important. The nobles are shocked, but Fancy Pants just gives her kudos and asks how she knew what's what. She mentions how Rainbow talks about Fleetfoot and the other Wonderbolts all the time, mentioning that Fleetfoot is small but fast and better in these types of contests. It's really wholesome how she talks about Rainbow about these sort of things even when we aren't watching. Rarity, embarrassed by her origin, then lies to everyone, claiming that Rainbow is the Wonderbolt's trainer, not her friend from a podunk town. Which you would think Fancy Pants would at least know who the trainer is, but considering that none of them knew about the racer's abilities, it kinda tracks. The pompous ponies all start kissing up to Rarity now that Fancy Pants endorsed her, and they flood her with invites to an art gallery, a dinner, and a charity auction, all inconveniently taking place this evening, tomorrow morning, and tomorrow evening, eating up all the time she has. The rich ponies then all claim that they'll be ruined without her presence. The art gallery may as well close, the dinner ruined, and the charity guy just sort of pressures her with the fact that it's a charity. So, all very annoying manipulative types, which is, I guess, accurate. Rarity claims that Twilight's dress is still her top priority, but she can't turn down the elite of Canterlot, now can she? Oh boy. Anyway, time for a song review since it's time for Becoming Popular, which I honestly forgot this song was in this episode. She starts off singing about how she'll become the toast of the town, a girl on the go, as well as the type of pony every pony should know. This is likely an insight into the life that Rarity thinks she wants, and she should have, but as we know, what you think you want isn't always what you actually want. Rarity's gonna be tackling those delusions of grandeur here. Honestly, if Rarity ever got what she wanted, it'd be like that SpongeBob episode where Squidward moves to a place with only squids and he gets bored of it after like a week. She'd then mentions she's becoming as popular can be, making her mark on high society. As for the paintings here, I know they're all probably references, and it seems like they're all different artists. The left is some form of cubism, so I'm gonna guess Picasso. The middle is the Persistence of Memory painting by Salvador Dali, and the right, I have absolutely no idea. I don't even have a guess. We also see one of Photo Finish's models here, as well as one of Photo Finish's stylists. Maybe they're here together, that'd be cute. Also, Photo Finish is actually here, but it's hard to tell from behind. You'll see her in the next shot from the front. Rarity's approval leads to everyone else approving, and puts relief onto the annoying lady's face, as she literally expected to fail without Rarity or likely Fancy Pants around to make ponies agree with him or her, which is depressing culture, to be honest. On a more positive note, Rarity's outfits are all great in this episode, but this one is definitely a favorite of mine. It's simple, but the hair is what does it for me. It's so weird and wavy and appealing. None of you know how auctions work. Even the pompous guy agrees with me. Dude's absolutely dumbfounded at their incompetence. Anyway, back to the lyrics of the song. They're using different phrases and saying, she calls herself the belle of the ball, the star of the show, the creme de la creme, not just another Jane Doe. She's talking about how she wants to be some pony that's remembered and not another faceless in the crowd. This is definitely something a lot of people can relate to. Whereas Rarity wants to leave her mark on high society, others might just be happy to leave any mark whatsoever. Rarity likes to shoot for the stars. She also mentions loving how they hang on her every word that she speaks and are looking for her approval on what to do, just further delving into this depressing culture of the Canterlot elite. She then also goes to an opera and onto Fancy Pants' yacht. Here at the opera, she's wearing her Grand Galloping Gala dress for some reason, which, hey, I guess at least she's reusing it and didn't make it just for like a one-off occasion type of deal. Bon 58 and Derpy 44. Kudos to the animation team for this shot and the creators. They used literally every high society pony we've seen in the show so far, and only reused a couple. Some notable inclusions are Photo Finish, Hoity Toity, Sapphire Shores, and all of the models, and Fancy Pants himself. Also, I love how Derpy has a pearl necklace to appear fancy. It's hilarious. The bag is a given at this point. It's a trademark. Oh god, the prince. Don't make eye contact. Don't make eye contact. Apparently, Rarity made up with the prince as she's doing the ship christening with him. Also, Derpy and Lyra are here, but it's the same song, so I'm not going to count them. And after coming home from all that nonsense, the song enters a melancholy tone as she's realizing that she's let her friend down. Side note, Opal throughout this entire visit is hounding Rarity to work on Twilight's dress, proving Opal cares about the main six, and is just a better pet than Angel Bunny. I will not apologize for the random flack at the bunny. The pompous ponies that Rarity was rejected by invite her to a Canterlot garden party, and suddenly she cancels her trip back to Ponyville. They never specified how long she was allowed to use the room. Given that Twilight uses it in the future, I assume it's just an extra guest room, so there's no real need for it, but it still feels a bit rude to keep extending her stay without telling Celestia. She does write home to her friends here, however. She just lies to them about why she's staying. She says Opal is too sick to travel and she'll have to miss the party. Like, come on, Rarity. She believes her entire reputation hangs on her appearance at the garden party, despite the fact that she was invited by two ponies she was already talked down to by. The main six arrive basically instantly, considering the letter not only had to be delivered, but they had to travel to Canterlot all within a single day. Why is equestrian transit so hard to comprehend? Assuming they took the train, I guess it would only take them like 30 minutes to an hour, but that's after they get the letter, which was apparently express mailed to them. What did she get, like a Wonderbolt or something to fly it over in minutes? It was the morning, because she came home at night and wrote the letter during the day. Assuming the garden party is in the afternoon, I guess it's possible, but very strange. I'm mostly caught up on the whole she had to get the letter delivered part. We know Derpy's a male pony, so Pegasi do letter deliveries, and we know it's not that far of a flight, even if I don't logistically agree with that. Anyway, I've ranted enough. Let's just move on. Oh, I just realized she could have had Celestia or some royal mage send the letter through Spike, but seeing as she wouldn't disturb the princess or something like that, maybe Twilight taught the spell to her? That'd be a great way for this to work too. We never see it, so I don't actually know. Anyway, Rainbow grills Rarity about her fancy getup. Actually, it makes more sense for Spike to be the one who have taught Rarity the spell, because Spike would want to be of use to Rarity whenever possible. Again, never really told to us or shown, so can't really use that as an actual bonus point to them. Twilight spies her dress, calling it simple, practical, and uncomplicated, saying it's her perfect outfit. I referenced this in Suitor for Success. Go me, woo! Twilight told Celestia they were moving her party to Canterlot, and Celestia just gives them the ballroom to have it in. Like, damn yo, Celestia, you're abusing the hell out of your authority. Seeing as she hates the gala and talks about how much empty space the castle has in later seasons, it does kind of track that she wouldn't care all that much. Twilight and Pinkie are mostly oblivious to Rarity acting weird, while Applejack and Fluttershy are perplexed, but Rainbow is locked in and definitely sees something up. That being said, no one's ever gonna call her out on any of this, so oh well. And Pinkie's iconic party cannon is here, and here it shall remain for all the rest of the series as her primary party tool. With how much they party in this show with Pinkie, it's fun to see how they always mix up the parties. They're throwing Twilight up and catching her with their heads exclusively, which feels like it would hurt, especially with Rarity's horn. Food fight, fun! And Rarity being completely apprehensive to enjoy herself as she's too caught up in the fact that the garden party is right outside. Continuing their party activities, Rarity eventually sneaks outside to the garden to quote-unquote make an appearance, which would probably have been fine if she only did it once. Still a dick move, but at least defensible. And it's not gonna be once, is it? Octavia's here to perform, always fun. Also, yeah, this pony with the fancy saddle is used a lot in the series, but I don't know if she's ever had a cutie mark, or if it was obscured in some way before, but she just doesn't have one this episode. Weird. Also, this guy's cutie mark is a liar, but he's playing a harp. Yes, I know they're in the same group, and it's a negligible difference. Fancy Pants is even at this party, despite him not inviting Jet Set and the other one to the derby box. Guess he just likes the castle, so he came anyway. Okay, I don't know why I haven't thought of a group piñata before, but it sounds amazing. Probably because it's super dangerous, but what's a party without a little danger? There's more party shenanigans, and then Rarity starts making random excuses despite no one asking nor caring about her movements. Kinda funny that despite her perception, ponies don't actually care that much about her all the time. I guess that just goes to show how much of this really is a delusion. Whether knowingly or not, Twilight gives Rarity the perfect out, saying that all the posh ponies outside make for perfect customers for Rarity's dresses, which Rarity just sort of goes along with. Honestly, if she had thought of that too to begin with, Twilight probably would have been not fine with it. Honestly, Twilight would have been fine with the truth, but, you know, we've already seen how she got with Spike lying, and yet I don't think there's ever going to be any reconciliation here, in this episode at the very least. Rarity mentions how Twilight is the best friend ever for telling her to go mingle with the posh ponies. Man, Rarity really do be making her own problems, though. At least when it's not Sweetie Belle's fault. That's right, everyone's catching strays this episode. Sweetie Belle, the bunny, everyone. That being said, Rainbow just leads the charge for everyone to crash the other party. Okay, yeah, they're posh and rude and pompous, but barging into another party uninvited and ruining their plans and vibes is pretty messed up. Most of them do deserve it, but my homeboy Fancy Pants doesn't. That being said, Fancy Pants probably actually finds this pretty entertaining. Apparently this pony is wearing a wig and has no hair, which makes this stallion uncomfortable. Poor her, she looks fine. Random Bonbon 59 here. Also, gaze upon her, posh ponies, for this is the best friend of the princess. Honestly surprised they don't know Twilight by face. She was by Celestia's side the entire night at the gala. Pretty sure some of these ponies shook her hoof. Fancy Pants approaches Twilight to ask about her outfit, because that was the only thing worth asking about in this scenario. Not who she is, why is she dancing, why did they crash the party. No, who made the dress is the most important. Well, it is a Rarity outfit, so gotta obey the contract. Fancy Pants responds to Rarity's desperate attempts to pull him away with a calm one moment, and then proceeds to call Twilight lovely and genuinely shows interest in her outfit. Oh no, everyone heard Twilight say that Rarity made the dress. Her life is over. Well, the posh ponies are all shocked and upset. Fancy Pants is more disappointed looking. Like, she isn't who she said she was, and that upsets him. Fancy Pants even asks in a completely calm, non-judgmental tone if she knows the party crashers. They try to play this scene as Rarity going to the dark side and moving towards the posh ponies who look all smug like she's taking their side and going to talk down to the quote-unquote riffraff, while the main six look confused and concerned with what she's doing. Look at Pinky's face. Actual emotion and concern. Where was this with Discord? Rarity calls the main six the most important ponies she knows, which in Twilight's case is kind of correct. But it's mostly an emotional, they're the most important to me type of claim, which Jet Set and Upper Crust use as ammo to try and talk down to all of them, calling them ruffians. Fancy Pants, on the other hand, counters, calling them charmingly rustic, and seems enthralled and interested by all of them. Giga Chad move! He used the posh high society speak to just curb stomp their gatekeeping, holier-than-thou mentality. That's why I love Fancy Pants. I actually really like what the show does with the subversion of both Filthy Rich and Fancy Pants. You expect both of them to be jerks or pompous or just mean, but both of them are actually pretty chill and down-to-earth ponies. Like, Filthy Rich constantly donates to charity, and he pays for a lot of the improvements that the Ponyville goes under. Like, he supports the Apple family wholeheartedly and always defers to the Apples when making decisions. It's just really nice. I enjoy the subversion there. Subversion isn't good in every situation, but they do it pretty well here. He then goes on to compliment the dress as well, and praises it in front of every pony, knowing exactly how influential he is. Giga effing Chad. He even follows up asking for introductions. This dude's a class act. Absolute class act. Rarity, while writing her letter to Celestia, is ambushed by actual Celestia, who is only too eager to listen despite the earlier weirdness. The letter to Celestia is thus, quote, "No matter where you go in life, you are the product of your home and your friends, and that is something to be proud of, no matter what," end quote. No real notes, it's solid advice. Sometimes it's not exactly a good thing, of course. Sometimes you come from a bad place, surrounded by bad people, and maybe you come out of it for the better, but it could also be for the worse. Recognizing how your past shaped you into who you are is a part of the path of moving forward and growing as an individual. That's basically what therapy is. Anyway, outro. And that was Season 2, Episode 9, Sweet and Elite. I really enjoyed this episode. Just, yeah, it's a Rarity episode, so obviously I'm going to enjoy it. But it's also just really fun. There's a lot of subversions and interesting concepts told here. Rarity is obviously not doing a great job of being a friend here. Just throwing away her friend's birthday for high society nonsense. Something I did want to point out that I mentioned earlier was there aren't really any Pegasi in Canterlot. It was almost exclusively unicorns and earth ponies. I think the only Pegasi we saw were the Wonderbolts. There may have been other ones that I didn't notice, like we saw Derpy in that one shot, but but we didn't see her wings. Like, I don't think we really see wings in this episode aside from Celestia and the Wonderbolts. I could have missed them. I'm almost confident I might have, but it's an interesting detail with Canalot. As for the rating for this episode, it has a good song. It does mess with Rarity, but it doesn't butcher Rarity. She's just not great. So I think this one's gonna get probably a 6. Yeah, we'll give this one a 6. See ya.